Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order the October 22nd Finance, Audit, and Budget Committee meeting. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is the adoption of the agenda. I'll take
Adopt the agenda.
motion from Commissioner Romano, support from Commissioner Wallace. Seeing no comments or questions on the agenda, please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Next, I need a motion to approve the minutes dated October 21st, 2025.
Support.
Motion from Commissioner Goike, support from Commissioner Perna. Seeing no comments or changes to the minutes, please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Next is public participation. Anybody from the public wishing to speak on any item on today's agenda for a maximum of 3 minutes is welcome to the podium to come speak. Anybody from the public wishing to address the board? Okay, seeing none, we will close the first public participation. There is one more before the end of the meeting. We'll move on to item 6, presentations. I will take a motion to receive and file the BOC Casual Day recipient recognition for MSU Extension 4-H youth program for September 2025.
So move.
Support.
Motion from Commissioner Ha, support from Commissioner Van Sickle. I believe we have a brief presentation, but we can vote, I guess. All right, who's here from 4-H? Come on down. I have Rebecca on my list, but there's more than Rebecca.
Somebody's got to go up to the microphone.
Okay. Hi.
Give us a brief intro for what you guys do.
Okay, so 4-H is the largest youth development organization in the country. It surpasses Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts combined times 10, I believe. And we are all about youth development in any area in which they want. It used to be very much agriculture based, and we are still paying honor to our roots, but now it is STEM and art and cooking, and anything that a kid wants or needs, we try to provide to them at low or no cost. So if anybody wants us in your community, please reach out. We would love to help you.
Thank you. Thank you all for what you do. Savannah has our massive check for you all. Congratulations. And commissioners, it's picture time. If you don't know the drill by now, you're out of the picture.
Goodness.
I should just sit here like the whole meeting.
Looking for her supper.
We'll have to bring together.
You guys can move back a little bit.
There you go. Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think Harold delayed. We got to do it again.
I probably did. Jimmy was poking me.
Thank you and congratulations again. Now we will move on, commissioners, to budget reviews. I will take a motion to receive and file budget reviews for Animal Control, Health and Community Services, and the Office of Senior Services.
So move, Van Sickle.
Motion from Commissioner Van Sickle, support from Commissioner Wallace. Animal Control is first. That is going to be page C16. Chief Randazzo. Guest starring Andy McKinnon. Go ahead, guys.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, and thank you all for your time today.
One thing that you'll notice from the departments that I get to partner with this year for the budget presentation is brevity. Hopefully, this is the only time I come up because brevity is not my strong suit. But I don't think that it is a good use of any of our time to present to you what we think is important. This is your opportunity to go through the budget with a fine-tooth comb, as you all do, and ask any questions that you might have. And we look forward to that very much. So you won't see slides, you won't see a big dog and pony show, pardon me, Jeff, with this. Both myself and Tom Lehrer work with Jeff and get to share the opportunity to work alongside animal control. There's a lot of need in that department, as you know. One of the things that I wanted to briefly touch on, though, is a call I got today from Crystal, one of the, you all know Crystal. I am forgetting her title at this point. I know it's new, but she wanted to ask about the roadkill removal. I don't know a better way to put that. And I had a conversation with Commissioner Zinner about that before. We had entered into a pilot program, or we are participating in a pilot program for that right now. Really started in September, and we anticipated that it would go to December. We had a big outcry of folks who wanted to have the roadkill removed from the side of the road throughout the county. We're working through that. We're doing this pilot program to kind of gauge the need and the cost of that program and anticipate coming back to this board in January or February to ask to continue that program for a full year and then in perpetuity, hopefully. But that's a discussion for us to have at a future date. I wanted to give you all that information in case there are additional questions. I'm intimately involved with that on a day-to-day basis. Please feel free to reach out to me and I can answer any questions that you might have. With that, that's about as brief as I can be. 42778, I apologize, Commissioner Perna, and I will turn it over to Jeff. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I feel like I'm like, oh God, here it comes.
Andy made us go to sleep, so I apologize.
Well, I think last year I was much more entertaining, right? So I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Chief, I love it. Commissioner
None?
Mikey.
I love this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chief, for coming. It looks your budget went up by basically $500,000, and the two biggest things I see on is the personnel and the internal services. Could you explain why they've gone up significantly in your budget?
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be personnel. So I'm requesting a full-time veterinarian and the addition of a kennel attendant. So
Okay,
as
so that's personnel. All right, what about the internal services? Well, not internal services. That was 600, now it's
844.
240.
So this is going to be where, on this side, I think it's, yep. Is it this right here, right? So on this side. So internals. Oh. Sorry, I need help from the expert here.
See, it was that. So it's your cost allocation plan.
Like, it's a 25% increase, that's why it's throwing a red flag.
Yeah,
up
internal
for me.
services, Jeff, is right here.
Right, but is this for,
It's the cost allocation plan amount that you have no control over.
right, how about that? I had no control over that last one, because this one definitely looked, but I think the biggest piece is that we're asking for the full-time veterinarian and additional kennel attendant. Since January, same time last year, we've taken in over more than 100 more animals. And we do not have a full-time vet.
Okay, then the final question, I guess, would be for Andy. For the roadkill pickup, while I in my previous job, we were working for the state to be getting money for the state for, especially for their wild animals versus what we get money for is the dogs, in our county. But for the deer, raccoons and all that stuff, because if something happens, that's where the money goes, is to the, Department of Natural Resources. Therefore, I think it's their expense as opposed to our county expense. Is that something that you can look into it anymore?
Yeah, Commissioner Goyke, of course, we could look into that some more. What we end up seeing is a lot of these dead animals end up in the middle of the road and become a road impediment. That's really I don't want to ever be disrespectful to any living creature, right? But when the animal goes from being alive to even maybe alive and injured to becoming unalive, and with all due respect to our northern friends who might treat this
We get a lot
differently.
more of it anyplace else.
Yes, that is now a article that's in the road that needs to be removed from the road so that it can be passed very easily.
Yeah,
That's the issue, yeah.
So, but, I mean, that was the whole thing of it is, you know, you know, somehow, if we can get reimbursements from them, if that's
Yep.
what we have to look to our legislators for passing legislation for that, because they make it known all the time, it's their animals, you know, and therefore they should be responsible for that.
Yes, I will absolutely look into that, Commissioner, and we will reach out to the state as well. Thank you for that suggestion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Lucido.
Thank you, Chair. So I've noticed that your, like, revenues have dropped every single year. And so I guess I was wondering, when was the last time, like, you, looked at your, like, costs for services?
Our cost for the services?
Yes, like, because your revenues, like, even licenses and permits have dropped, and your charges for services have dropped. And
So there's never been an increase in our licenses, which is our biggest form of revenue, for years. So they've always been the same. What we have noticed is that people are experiencing more of a financial hardship. So you can see since '22 that the revenue from licenses has completely gone down every year consistently. And that's what we see mostly, is that unfortunately, most of the residents we're working with are financially struggling.
do you think that the reason why it's dropped is because of the fact that just more people are just not going to get a license and they're just avoiding it? Or is it because they financially can't afford it?
No, we do send out renewal notices every other month. I believe it's because most people just cannot afford it. And so I think as a part of our community outreach has to be, how do we bridge that gap? And we don't want people to surrender pets, so we want to divert them from coming into animal control. So we have to find ways through grant funding, and we've been pretty successful through that part of trying to help people keep their pets through our free vaccine clinics, and at the same time, we sponsor their licenses as well.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Howard.
Hey, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I think I know that several cities do have their own animal control. It's just kind of challenging looking at this budget when, like, Warren residents are paying taxes that go supplement your budget, but we don't get any services from animal control. And I was just curious on, has there been a conversation with the city of Warren, or has that been revisited? Because I know years before there was a conversation about some kind of partnership, and I think over the years that has kind of ceased. But as a Warren resident trying to figure out how can I get the best for our tax dollars, like, animal control is definitely an area of need. And the services and animal control in the city of Warren are not adequate. Have you guys had a conversation with the city of Warren recently?
So we have worked with them for whenever they need assistance, they always could call us. We go into the city and help them if we, have the manpower to do so. So we have held their animals in cruelty cases, things like that. So we have partnered with them. I just think going back to Macomb County Animal Control, it's, what is our actual bandwidth that we have? We have 7 animal control deputies. We only have 7 kennel attendants to care for hundreds of animals that are in a building every day. So if you think we have 23 communities that we service alone.
And I'm sorry that I keep popping up, if I may, Commissioner. So we're also revisiting our contractual structures with both Roseville and St. Clair Shores. And we will continue to advocate for local municipalities to have contracts with the county and help share that cost directly, so that the people who have their own animal control are not supplementing us to the same extent that individual municipalities who don't have animal control services with us do. So that's really our focus now, is to try to re-energize that contracting part of it with the local municipalities so that we have more bandwidth for our animal control department.
Yeah, I know we've recently had a change in administration in Warren. I know previously they said that they reached out to Macomb to talk about creating a partnership, and I wasn't involved, so I don't know how that conversation went. It'd just be great if we could see that, because Warren residents would greatly benefit for it, and if Warren's willing to contract with you guys, beneficial to everybody since we're already paying into this as Warren taxpayers.
Yeah, absolutely. We're always wide open to having additional conversations, even if they didn't float in the past. It may be a very different time now, and we're always wide open to having those conversations.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Perna.
Yes, thank you, Jeff, for being here.
Oh, you're welcome.
Just for lay clarification, we already talked about the north, they've got a lot more wild animals up there. But down here with cats and dogs, when there's a dead animal in the street, is it up to the homeowner or to contact the local municipality for pickup? Or
Like, now what?
You open up the,
I'm listening. I heard the first part of that.
so you call the local municipality, be it the fire department, police department, and say, hey, I've got a dead animal on my street? Or do we call animal control? Or we do nothing?
So that is a very good question, and one that we continue to wrestle with ourselves. So the way that we're looking at it, Commissioner, and I appreciate the question, is when there's a dead, now I'm the dead animal guy, so, and I was trying to be brief, but apparently I'm not going to be. So when you have a dead deer, let's say in the road, right, that would be, it isn't anybody's responsibility really, but it's in the road, so it impedes the road. At that point, it really becomes a Department of Roads issue because it's impeding the road, just like if a tree fell over on the road. So those are both the same, I would say, if it's a county road. Now, if it's M59, that's a state issue because it's a state road. If it's in the city of New Baltimore, that's a city issue because it might be a city road. But in Clinton Township, many of those township subdivisions are deeded over to the county, and so they become county roads. Whether we want them or not, they become our responsibility. So that ends up being with us. So if somebody makes a phone call, what we would ask is they can call animal control, they can call the executive's office. We've connected with the Board of Commissioners office as well, Public Works and Roads. So those are really where those calls are gonna come in. We then have a system right now where we take that information, dispatch out an individual who picks up that dead animal and takes care of it for us. That's kind of that's the pilot program that we're discussing right now. As that moves forward, if somebody were to call and say it's on M59, we would get that to the state. If it's on a road in New Baltimore, we'd send that over to New Baltimore Public Works or ask the local resident to send that to New Baltimore Public Works. So that's the premise that we're going from right now. Now, if we had unlimited money, we could do that for everybody and take care of everything. We don't, as you guys know, so we're trying to limit it to what's our jurisdiction, what's our responsibility. I hope I answered your question.
Partly.
Okay, I'm happy to follow up.
There's a lot of confusion, I think, that the neighborhood, the individual homeowner doesn't know what to do.
Exactly.
If it's on the road, then it's a road issue. If it's on the shoulder of the road, it sits there for a month and all of a sudden it's getting eaten up by everything else and then it becomes a health issue.
Sure.
So
it continues to, so it's not totally dissimilar on the shoulder even, because it could get drug into the road by some way, shape, or form, right? A coyote, something. So continue to call us. We dispatch somebody out there to take care of it, to make sure that that roadway is clear. Now, if it's in somebody's yard, their backyard, that would be the homeowner's responsibility. But road or road adjacent, we still take those calls and dispatch an individual.
is any of this communicated to any of the residents in Macomb through what to do in a newsletter? I mean, does the county have any education process for this?
Because we've been kind of surveying what the issue is and what the impact is, we have not communicated out what our process is at this time because we're trying to understand what the costs would be. A good example would be, deer is very clearly a road impediment. Is a squirrel a road impediment? It's hard for me to get my head around that. And do we want to be picking up every squirrel that's dead on every county road in the entire county? And what would the cost of that be? So it's almost a silly conversation. I'm not trying to be funny about it. But if I'm a person who has a dead skunk in front of their house on the shoulder, I want that gone, right? It's just as bad as a deer to me. But should we be taking on that responsibility as a county is a question that we will be asking and we will be talking to this board about as we walk forward with this program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Chair Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Chief.
How are you?
Andy, thanks for the clarification there. You don't have to get back up. I think we really need to have a discussion about what truly the services are of animal control for the county, because there's a lot of confusion out there. And I understand Commissioner Perna's question, because I get the same question very often. But Chief, can you just talk about the operations there a little bit? Because, for example, like on average, what does it cost to get a license? I know I have a license for my dog, but my wife pays and handles it all, so I have no clue what she's handling.
They're all
there,
all the
but what
prices are
what does it
online.
cost? What does a license cost?
$10 for a sterilized animal
Okay.
and $25 for non-sterilized.
Okay, so I'm just looking at your revenue here, and in the last 4 years, your revenue's decreased just in the licenses and permits. Back in '22 was $273,000, and the recommended budget's $220,000, so that's like $53,000. So if I divide that by 25, that's like 2,000 licenses that were off. So, when I look at your department, this is a service-based department in the sense of you provide a service to the community, right?
Absolutely.
Obviously, it's a license. Someone has to pay for the license. But I think the biggest challenge that I have when I look at your budget is that, your revenue is declining and your expenses are increasing. And when I look at that same time period, I mean, that's an increase of almost $2 million. I think there has to be a discussion like Andy was just talking about, because, we can only do so much. And I know what the executive has recommended in the 1.5 positions here, one being your full-time vet and one being the half kennel attendant, but you really need more, because you need another 5 animal control officers that you didn't get in the recommendation, and an office assistant senior, which is another $500,000 really to operate your office effectively. So I struggle with this budget in the sense of, your services are increasing, there's more need.
There's definitely more demand on it, for sure.
And if we're not increasing our revenue in any way, shape, or form, and we're not raising those licenses or permits, where's the break-even point? Because we're just going to keep throwing money at this budget.
I think an important piece is that everyone that's a commissioner should come see animal control, right? So you really should see how many, communities that we actually service, how many animals we take in. So if we're just talking licenses, just last year, we did over 10,000 licenses, right? With 4 people, right? So I think it's important to realize what the financial climate is out there as well, right? So most of the people that we're working with have been arrested, they are being evicted, they have nowhere to go, and as a municipal animal control, we have to take those animals in, right? So it's usually like we're dealing in some sort of crisis mode for everyone.
Okay.
Right, so
The emergent.
it's not ever going to be a revenue maker.
Right.
Right.
I understand that. The emergency vet that you're requesting, where would that person operate in the current state of what you have available as far as space?
So we would use the vet room, that's the only area that we have, but we would also be able to bridge some of the gap that we have for when you see the cost of going to these veterinary clinics. Every day we're transporting animals to veterinary clinics for medical procedures. We have to bring them back to animal control, and then we have to wait for our part-time vet to come and clear them to go up for adoption or be transferred back to the owners.
Okay.
So to answer your questions, it's at animal control.
So it would help your logistics in the sense of your staff going back and forth. They would save time. There'd be
Correct.
resources saved, but we'd be reinvesting it internally into the department.
Correct.
Okay. I know there's more questions on the list, so
More.
thank you for answering those questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner
thought we
Van
were done.
Sickle.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. I also had a question about the requested vet. Currently, you use contracted services, right?
Correct.
So do you know how much contracted services cost last year and how much it costs year to date? And would that would be a coming to reduce your budget in those areas.
So I have year-to-date, let's see. So you want to know how much we've spent already at the veterinary clinic for our animals? So let's see. Give me 1 second. So right now, we have spent $92,000. So 80% of that budget has already been spent, and that doesn't include October's bills.
Okay, so is not using contracted services shown as a lower line item in the proposed budget?
What do you mean?
Well, you just said you spent $90,000 this year for contracted services.
Correct.
And if you got a full-time vet, you would not be spending that 90,000
'Cause
next
some of
year,
that-
correct?
Correct. So if we had a full-time vet, some of that could be relieved with a vet that's in-house.
I understand that.
Okay.
But your personnel budget went up, and I'm looking for where the $90,000+ came out of the budget line item for next year because you're getting a full-time vet.
Are you trying to say that we're going to take the $90,000 from the contracted services that we've already spent and save that by hiring a vet?
Yes, I would think that.
No.
So you're still going to
Because
be spending that much for a contracted?
We don't have a facility that we could do surgery at, right? So every animal by law has to be sterilized, right? They have to see if they're picked up on a weekend after hours, they have to go to a veterinary clinic. Some of this would be reduced, but absolutely not all of it.
Okay, so now I'm a little confused actually because
Yeah.
I thought the full-time vet would do all the veterinary services you need.
No, so unfortunately, our facility, we cannot do surgeries at it because we don't have a facility where we could have anesthesia machines exhausted out of the building because the way we have our HVAC systems. So this would help, a full-time veterinary would help for us to do medical care on all of those animals, but it would not alleviate the fact that we would still have to have contracts with local veterinary clinics to do spay and neuters and big surgeries. Like, if an animal had a broken leg or, animal, whatever big medical stuff it has to go to a real veterinary clinic. We don't have a facility to do that like Oakland County.
So by having a vet on site, could you guess at a percentage of the contracted services you wouldn't need?
I would not be able to guess that out. I would not want to take a guess at that. I would feel like there would be a pretty good noticeable difference in it, but I do not want to guess that out. I don't want to fool you into thinking that there's going to be $90,000 that you're not going to see in contractual services. What I can say is just over the last few years post-COVID, we know that their services for veterinary care has gone up, right? So the cost of spay and neuter, any kind of medical treatment, emergency exam fees, all that stuff has gone up.
Okay, moving on to a different subject. On the licensing fees, you mentioned the 10 and 25 for neutered and non-neutered pets. Are there any other licensing fees?
No. So it's just depending if
Who sets those fees?
Those fees were set from the Board of Commissioners in our discretionary fees. So we just never increased them. They've been set for years.
Okay, so it isn't an animal department fee structure. Those fees are set by the Board of Commissioners.
Correct.
Okay, and
The executive office? I'm sorry, I stand corrected. They're done at the executive office.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
The fee schedule, the discretionary fees are done at the executive office.
I think that there's a noticeable interest in the idea that the fees likely have to go up because they have not gone up over time. I think that's going to be a theme throughout this entire budget process, that inflation has hit us significantly, and the county has been very kind in not increasing those fees over time. It's likely time to increase those fees and make Chair Sabatini's wife cut us a bigger check. I agree with that 1,000%.
I didn't hear in there who actually has the authority to
It would
set the
be animal
fees.
control or the departments that are underneath the executive's office. So it is animal control that can set those fees. I will work with Jeff in looking at that, and that's more of that broad conversation. I think that Commissioner Sabatini did talk about the idea that we have got to make certain that people understand whatever the services are that we're providing, they're not free service, right? And if we're going to take $1 from I'm just trying to think of if we're going to take $1 from the HR department to give it to animal control, then there has to be a reason that we're doing that as opposed to sending it to MCA or sending it to the health department. So every dollar has use elsewhere as well. And so when we can assist in generating additional revenue, and I've heard that a number of times here today, I think it's a very fair idea. And I think it's one that we will absolutely visit, Commissioner.
When that conversation comes forward, I'd also like to know the year in which the current fees were set.
Yeah, we can find that. We can find that, no problem. We'll find that sooner than when we have the conversation on increasing. them,
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm all for, if you want something, it's fair to ask people to pay for it.
Yeah.
And things have gone up a lot recently. I mean, over the last few years, including the cost of our services to people. So I don't think anybody would really balk at things going up.
Yeah, there's always that delicate balance, right? Do you want to buy eggs or do you want to be in compliance with getting your dog licensed? And people do have to make those decisions, unfortunately. And so we want to be sensitive to that. But when there's a significant period of time and a lot of inflation, I think it's fair for us to reconsider those fees. Absolutely.
Is there any kind of study that supports that thought?
That people
Because I
choose
know
whether they
people don't
buy
seem to be
eggs
having
or-
trouble buying their iPhones.
I don't think
And,
that's a
you know-
question for me. That seems like more of an idea than a question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Van Sickle's asking the philosophical questions today. Commissioner Wallace. It's your turn now.
Gosh. Okay. Stay on track. So I would suggest if you haven't been to animal control facility to go. I know a lot of us have already went. I didn't go with the group. I went on my own and went through the volunteer training. And I think that way was very helpful. The part-time vet was there that day, and she had a lot of work to do. And it was a lot for someone that's not there full-time, very overwhelming. But she had a smile on her face and she was doing her job. So I think that at the very least, see what they're working with. There is no way, even with a full-time vet, to get all the things done in that facility. It wouldn't be able to happen until the new facility is brought up or built. So I do understand the need for the full-time vet completely. My question is, do you have a consistent amount of volunteers? I know the last time I asked, it was like people come in for training and then it's like, you don't really see them anymore.
We do, Commissioner. We have 30 active volunteers.
Nice.
And so we're really blessed for that. They come every day, so we're really, fortunate for that. They do an array of things that help us out, whether it's walking dogs, helping us with laundry, different things.
Wonderful. I do agree with taking another look at those fees, and I do completely agree that times are not getting easier for people. So there will be families that say they can't do it, but I think that the way that you have already been helping so many people, there is a way for us to work with groups of people that can't afford the fees going up. But we need to definitely take a look at that because those are probably the most inexpensive fees
Right.
that I've heard of. And then I asked this question last year as well. Your interns, I know you were working with different community colleges with interns. Do you currently have interns or have?
We currently do not. So at certain times of the year, Macomb Community College, their vet tech program will send over interns. There's a school right in New Baltimore, it's Ross. They do veterinary assistants, they'll send over interns, and then every now and then, Michigan State, if they have a third-year vet school student that wants to practice in shelter medicine, they'll come out and do an internship.
So how often do you have interns? It seems like it's every like now and then and
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's more every now and then. So I would say for MCC, they're more there because it's part of their curriculum. So at the Macomb Community College, it's part of the curriculum, so they're there. MSU is kind of maybe once a year, and it's a
Okay.
third-year student that only wants to specialize in shelter medicine.
Okay, got it. I definitely think having interns there to work with not only the volunteers but the vet would be great if there's a way for us to work with them more. And then also, I love the idea of going back and talking to those cities, townships, communities that do not have contracts with you right now to see who would just be interested in sitting down and seeing if that's what's best for them now. I won't say any certain cities have had videos out, but I think it'll be a good look just to have that conversation. And I know if you decide to talk to Mount Clemens, I would love to be there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Commissioner, we're wide open for everybody. We're really working on those contracts currently. And if I may, you talked about the volunteers, which is huge and never reflected in our budgets. And Lori from Animal Control is here. She helps coordinate our volunteers, and that's a huge, gigantic success that we probably don't celebrate enough.
Yeah,
So
I
thank you
agree.
for highlighting that.
The training is phenomenal, very detailed, so you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you. And thank you for going through your orientation.
Thanks, Commissioner. On the second round, Commissioner Howard.
Yeah, just really quick, you mentioned adoption. Currently, right now, and just forgive my ignorance, if somebody asked me where could they adopt a pet from, I would just send them to Detroit Humane Society because that's where I adopted my dogs from. If somebody
That's
wants
still
to-
helping homeless dogs, right?
Right. But if they're a Macomb County resident, I can send them to Macomb and we can generate fees off of their adoption.
Absolutely.
Where would I send them?
Macomb County Animal Control, right there on Dunham Road.
Okay.
Yep. And last year we did 960 adoptions.
Wow. I'm not sure if you're familiar, and there's a bill that I believe passed about waiving the fees for adoptive pets. I'm not sure if the state is going to, reimburse communities, but I would just suggest maybe looking into that. It was, I believe it was Representative Mike McFall's bill about adoptive animals. So I would just check on that to make sure we're not dealing with another unfunded mandate. I just haven't read the bill yet.
Right.
So just a heads up.
Yeah, I heard about that. Thank you, though.
Okay. Thank you. That's all. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Romano.
Thank you, Chair. Hey, Andy. Hi, Jeff.
How are you?
Jeff, I'm looking at your budget here and your personnel increase when we're talking about this full-time vet. You increase it by $300,000. What does a vet make? What kind of salary are we talking about? And what about what they call him, a kennel keeper, or what did you?
Kennel attendant?
Kennel, yeah.
So the veterinarian, I believe, would come in around $86 an hour, which is far lower than they're making. They're making at the easy bottom end $125 an hour.
Andy's there. Andy, do some math. $86 an hour, 40 hours. Help me along here.
Yeah,
What are you
so-
talking about yearly?
So if you take the 86,
180.
I was going to say 170, but yes.
170,000
My math isn't good. I would go with Commissioner Goikis.
plus bennies.
And I would think that we're wrapping benefits up into that, but we'll see what the actual salary would come out to over time. We don't have a job description currently for a full-time veterinarian, so we'd have to go back, work through that, and post that position. So you likely would not see the full freight of that next year. That really would be in the 2027 budget if we were to be successful in hiring a full-time vet, if this board thought it was wise for us to hire a full-time vet. So
Okay, and I see, so we're doing the 300,000, we got $130,000. I'm sure a kennel attendant doesn't make $130,000 a year. So I'm just trying to figure out, I'm trying to make some figures fit in here.
Commissioner, there's also the 3% for the current.
Yeah.
There's also the 3% for the current employees in that as well.
3%, even at 3% still.
yeah, and there's an illustrative rate for our health insurance, which is astronomical, that I think people would be just like shocked. But we do
So it would
cover
fit.
entire families. If the vet happened to have a family or the kennel attendant happened to have a family, you're looking at upwards of 25, 30 grand. I mean, it is just astronomical. We've kept ours low because we're self-insured, but you do illustrate that rate, and it is a very, very high expense.
The, when you said you had the, if a vet was right on premises and you would have to ship the animals out to surgery, what does the vet actually do? I guess that's not the correct way to ask it.
What would they be doing daily?
Yeah, well, I mean, a broken leg, you ship it out. A dog comes in, been hit by a
So
car, you
think
ship
of
it
it like
out for
this.
surgery. What
So-
does the vet do?
Yep, so think of it like this. So a dog hit by a car, right? We pick it up, we take it to the emergency vet, right? They set the leg. Now we get cleared, the dog can be picked up, can come back into our care at animal control. When we don't have a full-time vet, right? So we have to keep running these animals back to a local vet to be like, hey, is it cleared? What do we do next? Does it need another x-ray? You know, so now that we have an in-house vet, we can do all of that here.
Do other municipalities, let's use Sterling Heights for an example. Now, they have their own animal control?
I'm sorry, who?
Sterling Heights,
Yeah,
they do have.
they have their own animal control.
When you say they have their own, to what capacity that they don't use you?
So they have their own shelter right there in the Sally Porter of
Yeah.
the station, and then they hire their own animal control to patrol their own city.
So when they have an animal that needs surgery, they
have their own contracted services with vets that they use. I think they use Serenity, which is in Sterling Heights.
So we got Sterling Heights, Warren's got their own, am I correct? Is there anybody else that has their own? I'm
East
trying to
Point,
figure out where
Mount
you're getting all these animals at when other municipalities have their own animal control.
It is absolutely a significant issue, Commissioner, and I appreciate that. The
Hold on, Mr. Randazzo,
What did you say? So you got all these departments that have their own animal control, correct?
Yes.
And you're wondering where do they take their animals?
no, they all have their own animal control. Where all the rest of these animals come from?
We have 23 communities.
Well, how many of
Sterling
those
Heights has
communities
one.
have animal controls of their own?
Correct.
How many of them? Sterling Heights has,
Four.
Warren has,
So we
Warren,
have,
Sterling Heights, East Point, Mount Clemens.
they all have their own.
Correct.
And you're picking up the difference then?
Correct.
Well, there's a lot more municipalities out there. All right, that answered my question. That's all I got, Chair. Thank you.
Those numbers grow fast, don't
Yeah,
they,
the
Commissioner?
number grew real quick.
Commissioner Grope.
Hello, how are you?
Good,
Mr.
how are you?
Randazzo. I visited the facility a couple years ago, year and a half or so.
Yes.
So I know. I'm kind of curious what vet clinics you partner with.
So we partner with Advanced Animal Emergency, and then we have North Gratiot, we have Pink Creek, we use Affordable, we use Grossbeck, and we use VCA in Clinton Township.
Okay. I want you to tell the commissioners you created, there is a program for lost pet, right?
Oh, our
Yes.
microchip scanning station.
Yes, so
Well, I
please
hope they
tell
saw
us
that news
about.
press. That was really good. So we have a grant, we started a pilot program for Good Samaritans for scanning stations for microchips. So we started one in Armada Police Department, we have Roseville, we have Clinton Township, and we have Shelby. And so if someone was to find a pet, they could take it to that police department. On the outside of the building, there's a self-scanning station. So there's instructions that could, scan the animal and help reunite that animal right then and there, and it diverts it coming to animal control.
And I am assuming that that's police station, so they always willing to help you. if
Yeah,
there
so
is
it's at
a-
every police department that.
Yes, so
are
Shelby
working
is
with.
one of them. If you find
Yep.
a dog,
And so we're hoping to
yeah.
get more grant money and get, Chesterfield and other places on board too. But it's a great way. It's one of our programs to help divert animals from coming into animal control. And it also helps all of those cities as well. They have their own animal control because it's obviously open to the public.
so right now you have 4 locations, right?
Correct.
You planning to expand this?
Yeah, we applied for another grant for 2026 to get 4 more stations.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you for highlighting that.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Bueno.
Thank you. Thank you. My question is in regards to the vet position, which I know we've talked about quite a bit, but I was just wondering, was there any thought given to, rather than a vet, maybe a vet tech or a vet nurse versus that high of a level of having a veterinarian?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So that has always been something that we looked at, and unfortunately, in the state of Michigan, you know, shelter employees kind of are your vet techs, because they have a lot more freedoms, as long as all those people that you just listed still have to be under the direct supervision of a veterinarian. So vet techs, shelter employees, veterinary nurses still have to be under the direct supervision of a veterinarian. So just like our kennel tenants, they're doing all kinds of diagnostic, blood draws, heartworm testing, sending out, you know, samples to laboratories. So they're doing all of that stuff under the, you know, direction of a veterinarian.
Well, because today you're doing some of those things, and so you're using your contract services so that they're still under the direction of the vet through that contract.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just to interject real quick, the veterinarian pay ranges between $108,293 and $154,135. That's in the back of the budget book, in case you were looking for exact hard numbers. Commissioner Lucido on the second round.
Thank you, Chair. So I know that St. Clair Shores and Roseville both pay for the services, and then they have one full-time in their city at all times, like with 40 hours a week.
Correct.
It's just 40 hours a week, correct?
Correct.
Okay. My question is that under the reimbursements on your line item? Is that where that cost comes in?
Yes.
For those municipalities?
Right.
And those are the only two that actually pay for services, is Roseville and St. Clair Shores.
That is
The
correct.
other 17 or whatever communities, you provide the services
Correct.
without a fee.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. I see no other speakers. Chief, Andy, thank you both for the presentation.
Thank you all. Everyone have a great day. Hope to see you in
too.
Animal Control for a visit.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Health and Community Services, which is going to be budget page C40 in your books, and we have Andrew here to present on that budget.
Too much Andrew this afternoon. We got to spread out. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Great to see you again. First up, I have the privilege of going first for Health and Community Services, but you'll also hear from the four departments underneath me as well, hear their budget presentations, but we'll start with Health and Community Services. C40, I believe, is your package, packet number. Pretty simplistic budget. We are not asking for any additional positions for Health and Community Services. We have made some changes in recent years, but this year we are standing with what our positions currently are at, which is 9 full-time positions. We do have a slight increase in our expenses. Most of that is related to county increases, county cost allocations went up for us in terms of contributions for Health and Community Services, which would explain the increase in our expenses. And then also, as mentioned, the 3% increase in salaries is captured as well in our budgets for our operating expenses for personnel. We did capture this year what was different, as mentioned, I think in previous, maybe even previous years, about revenues, capturing our grant revenues. As a part of our revenue for Health and Community Services, we've taken on several grants, which would include our Regional Housing Partnership, which we've talked about, and I've talked about even a couple days ago with our Housing Summit coming up, and all the other initiatives that we are doing throughout that program, that grant. We do have the Steps to Stability, which is a MSHTA grant that helps with housing. It's a partnership that we support MCA as well as our ESG Emergency Solutions Grant, which is another shelter support, which we are the fiduciary for. So most of that, predominantly all those dollars go out to the actual providers, the agencies that are providing those shelter services in our county. Be happy to answer any questions with the Health and Community Services budget.
Thanks, Andrew. Commissioner Howard.
I just want to start by thanking you, and I'll say same thing for Mr. Scott. Early on, it was really quick to be able to reach out to you guys and get people's services. Unfortunately, just this day and age, the needs are growing faster than, unfortunately, sometimes what we can meet. But every time I've sent somebody you guys' direction, they've come back and said that everything they needed was very responsive and very well taken care of. So I just want to thank you and Macomb Community Action. I know one of the highlights that you had talked about before was the dental program and the regional housing partnership. It's just going to be so vital. The dental program for kids, having their teeth checked at early ages, and the regional housing, those are just going to be very vital to our community. So I just wanted to thank you on that. Your budget is pretty straightforward. I'm just curious, is there like anything, because I know before you talked about some things that you might have wanted to do that was different. I remember watching the budget presentations from years prior. Is there anything like that you would like to see different, or a hope coming into the next year or 2 years?
Yeah, well, I appreciate the opportunity and the floor, and I'll take it while you give it to me, so I appreciate it. I think you've heard a lot, and I appreciate the commissioners that came out today to see the state of our current health department in Mount Clemens. So I appreciate those that were able to make it and make time for that. But front and center are some very big decisions that we have in this county as it relates to our buildings and health and community services and the departments that are within my agency, especially when we talk about the VERC project, and that the need for us to really look at our capital projects. I know Vicki Wolber behind me too has been a champion behind that, but we have a number of those projects that we have to put and make some decisions, not only the VERC building, but the current health department building, as well as the south end buildings too, decisions about our buildings and what do we do with those buildings. I think we have a pretty solid plan that we're going to be presenting and have talked about before with you all, but that is going to be front and center, is really supporting that VERC project to me in the next coming years is going to be front and center, along with a lot of other services that we continue to see increased demands, not only in health and community services, but all the programs that we have, increased demands with those that need service, whether it's MCA, health department, senior services, or MSU Extension. Those needs continue to grow. And unfortunately, what's not matching it or matching that pace is the funding or the support for those programs. And so that's a continual challenge that we have to get creative with looking at additional grant funding, but also foundation funding that we're trying to go after. If you talk about programs like the Financial Empowerment Center, which we've been a champion of, we just haven't had the funding yet, but we are very confident that we might be able to get some funding to support the startup of it. But then we talk about the sustainability of programs is very important. And years after just the first, second year, how are we going to sustain those programs? And why it's so important to have evidence-based programming with all of our programs. So we look at that very carefully when we're bringing on new programs. How sustainable is that? And where are those funds going to come from in the future? So I really appreciate the support we do get when we come to this board and the support for our programs.
Yeah, one follow-up. I remember hearing a little bit about the financial empowerment program. What piqued my interest is as people are more financially viable, more self-sustainable, that also increase of taxes that go into the county. And so as much as this program might have an upfront cost, over the time will benefit because we're raising the tax base in one way or another. What would a program like that cost as the startup? I know there's legacy costs and stuff like that, but what would a startup cost for something like that?
Yeah, so we estimated when we were looking at this a few years ago, probably around $284,000 for the positions and support for that program is what I think we came up with. And so that'd be something that definitely would support, one-on-one counseling, and I think goes beyond the services that are already offered amongst the programs and departments and the community services that are there. But I think that's going to be more and more important as we go on, as we see people that are facing financial challenges are just educated in how to make those next steps. When we talk about affordable housing, that's the big component. That's a part of the affordable housing conversation is the ability to be sustainable and to be educated on making those right decisions that are going to put them in that position to buy that first home or live in a home and raise their family how they need to. So I think that's very important when we talk about financial empowerment. It's the whole gamut. It's not just home buying or knowledgeable about your credit report and what that says, but all facets of financial literacy.
Yeah, thank you for that. I was thinking about the regional housing program is if we can get more folks like financially empowered that can afford the affordable housing that we're trying to build, and then they are less taxing on other services that Macomb Community Action provides. And so it's like a full circle. If we can help people in one way, it decreases the services that we may need to offer in the future for that same family. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Goike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Cox, for being here. As probably most of you know, I've had an with your department of, doing the environmental stuff for over 50 years, so I'm very familiar with that aspect, but it's such a vast department. So one of my questions is, and it's pretty important to me, is the conferences and training, and it's only $12,800. So you got so many different interdepartments there. How much is the environmental, you have a breakdown for how much, so that they can do continuous education learning as well?
Yeah, so Commissioner, that 12,000 is just for health and community services, which is just the 9 employees that are within, and we only have 6 active right now, 6 active employees within health and community services. So that's just for health and community services. Health department has their own separate training and conference budget, which is much larger, obviously.
Okay, and then, so, because I was wondering where it's showing for all the permit money, how much comes in for that?
That's coming up next.
Okay, that's next, all right. And then, because the other thing I wanted to bring up is, you see in the future of bringing water testing back, I thought that was such an essential thing for the whole county, for all the water main breaks and everything throughout the county. The contractors or the DPW get it fixed, they flush, and they could go right to the county and get testing right away. And that's not available any longer, and that used to be, you had your own lab Karen used to, I remember the person ran it, so.
Yeah.
Is that something that you're entertaining to bring back, or it's too costly?
At this time, we have not had any conversations about a lab. I would love to have a lab. It's just, as you mentioned, the cost to run a lab, all the steps for keeping that lab accredited. There's a lot that goes into, obviously, the accuracy and the machines, the people, the personnel. I'd love to, have the conversation about what that would look like, but we are currently not exploring the lab, for water testing.
For all the beaches, everything, it was just I thought it was an essential service until it went away, and then I found out it wasn't essential no more.
And we have a great partnership with Oakland University and Hart Lab, and as well as our contract, but I understand as well as it's not as easy sometimes or accessible if it's not right on a county property that we can access all the time.
Yeah, because, in history-wise, I had the contract fixing the water main breaks for City of Centerline years ago. We get done flushing it, go right to the health department.
Sure.
It was fast, it was quick.
Yeah, that was very convenient.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Ha.
Thank you, Chair. Andrew mentioned that a couple of the commissioners, it was Commissioner Van Sickle and myself today, I wouldn't call it a tour, took a walk around the building, pointing out some of the areas. On the services you provide, Andrew, in that environment, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being worst, 10 being best, I'd give you a 9.5, because nobody gets a 10. The structural fitness of that building, on a scale of 1 to 10, it comes in at about 0. The discussion about the VEC and what needs to be done with that building has to take place in this budget year. You guys have received, fortunately, a grant, and it's my understanding that there's a time limitation on when that could be used. If you haven't, you talked about going through the animal shelter. You want to go through a building that you want to get out of in a big hurry, go to that one. Disgusting to me, the work environment that we're subjecting our employees to be in we went through an evaluation of the jail, many of us commissioners way back when, and so when you're dealing with buildings built in the 1950s, you can't even get parts to when I saw the steam part repaired with tape, I mean, that's to the extent that we were looking for. When he opened the door, there must have been about 30 spiders crawl out of the building down there, where the.
It wasn't just for Halloween either.
Yeah.
All the
He had his Halloween stuff up too, so that's a serious discussion that needs to take place during this budgetary process. I know the chairman has been working with you and our finance chair to come up with some recommendations and timeframes that we need to take a look at that. But I would encourage anybody that hasn't gone through that building, you want to think the jail was bad? Wait till you see this. So good luck. Thank you.
Not sure how I feel about being compared to the jail compared to the health department. but
Well, we're not supposed to call it a jail. It's called a central intake center. That's why.
True.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Howard.
Sorry, just a brief comment. Former county commissioner, my song, current state rep, reached out to me because the state is put in a lot of money for our program called RX Kids, and there's a lot of grant funding available. I don't know what that language looks like, and I don't know if there's a responsibility for the county, but I know in Oakland County, I accidentally went to one of their budget hearings, and they were creating a partnership with RX Kids, and it's essentially a program to help newborns and expecting mothers, knowing that if you can meet the need in the immediate sense when the child is first born or when the mom is first pregnant, it will offset generational costs on the county or the organizations or the city. It was such a huge pilot program in Flint that was very successful. I think it's something I'd love to see Macomb County step into. Several other counties around Southeast Michigan are looking into it because it's the numbers behind like how they're able to help people and it saves the city and the county costs. It's just been so dramatic. And then at the end of the day, it helps people meet the basic human needs for every county resident. And so I was just making a small plug for that because there's an opportunity for grants and stuff for us from the state. That is all. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Wallace.
Thank you. I just wanted to commend you on all the work that you have been doing and continuing to support us and what we're doing in our communities. I know one thing that you're trying to do is bring back trust in your departments with the communities, and I think that you are doing that just by being out in the community, supporting different events and things like that, making sure your name is out there and people know that you are there to support them and make sure their kids stay healthy. I do have some friends that work at the health department, so that's why you guys did not see me today. Though they love their jobs, they are like, yeah, it's tough. It's a tough place, but so I chose to pass on that. I do believe everything Commissioner Haas said, and yeah, just completely support you and all that you're doing, and also just how you go after grants, like continuously you're coming in here and you have one grant after another. I love to see that. I hope that we continue to see it. But yeah, I just wanted to commend you while you were here.
Thanks, Commissioner. And it's all the staff. I like to take credit, but it's the excellent staff that are behind me and the departments working today.
Chair Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Andrew. I know we're talking about grants. I noticed on your info sheet that right now you have a vacant grant management specialist that you're trying to find. Is that the only one that's in this budget specifically?
That's vacant, Commissioner.
Okay.
We have an office assistant senior, which we just had to fill our administrative assistant. So the plan was to fill that position, those two positions after we got that person in onboarded, which they're doing well, as well as the division director. So there's 3 vacant positions.
Okay. How long has the grant position been vacant?
Several months, because we posted that, did not like the candidates that we got. I wanted to repost it, but that's right when we found out that we were losing our great administrative assistant position. So then that delayed the filling of that grant management specialist.
Got it. Okay, thank
It's
you.
anticipated that we're going to post that soon, though.
Okay, great, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
Again.
Commissioner.
I see that the Health and Community Services, it says responsible for overall management and administration of activities, Health Department, Macomb Community Action, and MSU Extension. And the MSU Extension has 5 employees. Those are county employees,
Correct.
and they work for the county. They don't work for Michigan State.
Correct. So they are on site and they are county employees that help support MSU Extension. Now, they have a hybrid model. I call it a hybrid. That's just my own terminology. But they also have staff, which are here today, some of them. They're extension staff that are actually paid by MSU Extension, which our contract goes to support as well. Programming, in terms of programs, which we are losing three of those staff members, unfortunately, because of cuts this year, federal cuts that hit MSU Extension pretty hard, statewide, and also Macomb County. But it's a mix, so it's a mix of MSU Extension staff with county staff.
Okay. I think the MSU Extension is a good organization that we need to support. I was just sort of curious why they're county employees, but Michigan State University Extension.
I think it goes back to when the history of the program, that the services and programs they offer are beyond what we have supported in terms of the county dollars from our general fund have gone towards MSU Extension. So they provide more service than what we're actually, putting in in terms of dollars.
Thank you. I didn't mean to sidetrack the conversation, but
And
thank you, Chair.
Christy Evans is here as well. She'll be doing her budget presentations, speaking about MSU Extension.
Thanks, Commissioner. Andrew, you're all set for now. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioners.
If you want to sit in the crowd, you're more than welcome to. Chris is up next with the Health Department.
I'll actually do.
Are you going to do the Health Department budget?
I warmed it up and I got my papers.
All
So
right.
I'm all set. If that's
Perfect.
okay.
Andrew, can we start with the C37, 38, 39 pages first, the general fund pages, and then we can take questions, and then we can jump over to the special revenue pages. Let's do
Absolutely.
that. Okay, Andrew, go ahead.
Thanks, Commissioners. Again, I think a minimal ask. We're not asking for any full-time positions through the Health Department, so it's a pretty simplistic budget. We did see some increases with expenses. A lot of this was attributed to, again, increases in county cost allocation as well as salary increases in terms of the massive increases for just also what's in play here is a reflection of major grants that we have lost due to COVID grants. So those COVID grants expired to the tune of over $2 million that ended. Grants. These are grants of last year that will not be carried forward because they expired and ended. So some of those increased costs were a reflection of that transition of those grants ending in terms of not additional personnel staff, but we just weren't able to offset county dollars because those grants have ended, which helped offset why we were getting those grants. We were able to expend less dollars, county dollars. So those are returning to essentially pre-COVID levels that we're seeing in some of our county costs. So that is a big explanation of why our expenses have gone up here in the Health Department. We also have seen some minor increases in supplies and services. So vaccines have costed us a little bit more, as well as some additional increases in services. So we've seen some increases in our body removal service. I know we're going to be talking about that next month, I believe, at our board meeting that we'll be presenting. So that those expenses have gone up, much like the cost of a lot of things, and costs have gone up across the board for a lot of our supplies. In terms of conference line items, that's being increased. We're requesting an increase in that. That is a big part of that is actual because we have those full-time forensic pathologists in the medical examiner's office. Before, previously, those conferences were covered by their contract, so they would get reimbursed through their contract, not necessarily through county dollars. And so we have 3 full-time positions that we work with at that office that we would like to help support. They've asked to go to national conferences and get training. We think that that's a great idea considering there are physicians, important for their continuing ed credits, that they are also in tune with best practices across the board. So we're asking for an increase there in conference and training, and that's a big part of it is the ME's office for specifically the physicians there. I'm going to stop there in terms of page 37 and answer any questions, or would you like me to go to the special revenue?
We'll pause there for a minute. Andrew, I've got a question on page C39, actually.
Okay.
When it comes to the list of expenditures by service.
Yep.
At the bottom, there's the COVID-19 activities / other. And in 25, it was 0, 24, 0, but then it starts to pick up 26, 27, and 28. What constitutes those dollars?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Patrick Detine is the finance manager for the health department. It sounds like we have to look into that. So that might be an error or something that we'll just have to look at to explain, Commissioner. But good question.
Perfect. Thank you. One more question. The half position in the first off, MIHP. I'm good with acronyms. I'm on CMH. What's MIHP?
It's a maternal infant health program.
Thank you.
So this is a visiting program. It's outstanding. It's a program. So we do in partnership with Nurse Family Partnership. So if you think about it, NFP is a program that we go into the home and work with families, mothers, and infants, their firstborn. Where the gap was is that we needed to provide additional care for additional children because children are children, and just because you have one doesn't mean it's going to act the same as the subsequent children. And so there might be special needs or needs that, the families really need. And so we saw that need, and we a couple of years ago, I believe in 23, instituted the MyHIP program. That has doubled in the last year. So we're up to now 2,400 referrals. That jumped. It was about 1,200 last year. We've already increased that, almost doubled it, which is outstanding. And it just shows the need that program, continues to provide to our families. And it's so important that we're able to go out to the home because, one, it's much easier for the families, but we could have that assessment, those conversations. That is so much easier sometimes than families having to pack up coming out to us to one of our clinics.
Sure.
So the halftime is just because of the overall popularity that we're seeing in that program. Could use that additional office assistant support for paperwork type support, administrative support.
Got it. Thank you, Andrew. Chair Sabatini.
Good questions, Chair. You took mine. Andrew, just my only question is in regards to your conferences and training. I know it's going up by a little over $20,000. On your data form, you've got 32 different conventions / conferences. It seems like a lot.
Sure.
How do you maintain that, and how do you determine who goes to all these conferences?
It's a really great question, and it is a lot, but I think it shows in order for us to get the level of support and the professionalism and the experience that we need folks to go to trainings and to look at ways that we can provide even better services than we already are. If you just stay in your program and you never talk to anybody else, it's really hard to improve on anything. And so we see this as really a critical, as we've done over the years, is look at, our employee satisfaction and our quality improvement process. What constantly still stuck out was the need for professional development, workforce development was always a huge key, and we continued to prioritize that. So we know that we're asking, for a significant contribution there, but I think it's definitely needed. These are different conferences that are specifically usually programmatic based. So what you see, those 32 programs, we have what, 270 staff, I believe, in the health department. That's a lot of staff. And if you look at it, if you break it down, it's $253 per staff. So are we willing to put $253 into staff? I would hope so, because I think we see how it pays off when commissioners see us at events, and we have quality staff that we represent, whether it's water testing or the MyHip program or vaccines in our clinic. There's a lot of different programs that we do within the health department, and it's really important that we support our staff by giving them training opportunities.
Great. Thank you for explaining the value. Appreciate it, Andrew. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Chair. Any other commissioners with questions on C37, 38, or 39? Okay. Andrew, head over to the special revenue pages, please.
Certainly, thanks, Commissioner. As I was saying, the grants that are unfortunately ending because they are just ceasing to exist would be the sewer network, infection prevention, COVID EMS, our SNAP Ed program, MRC Strong, which is our volunteer grant, Infant Safe Sleep, emerging health response, and advancing healthy births. And like I said, this equates to $2,300,069. So there's a lot of right sizing of our revenues and our expenditures based off those grants going away. We continue to look at new ways and new grants, but those are some big grants that are coming off at the same time because of cuts to those grant programs. So you'll see reductions in most of our expenditures across the board, reductions. And so we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Andrew. I don't see any questions from, oh, hold on. I knew if I waited 2 more seconds. Commissioner Van Sickle, go ahead.
Going twice.
Thank you, Chair. You've mentioned these grants ending a couple of times. Did we hire any permanent staff for these, based on these grant dollars?
No, we did not. Excuse me. We contracted out a staff member through the infection prevention grant, and that person is no longer with us because we had to cut that person. All the other staff, we've reduced during COVID, some of those additional contractual staff. We stopped the contractual services, but that was a couple of years ago now. And so we did not hire any specific county staff with these grants specifically. We typically try very hard to not do that because we just don't know if we don't have a good sense that these grants are going to be long-term. We really refrain from hiring the best county employees for that reason.
Good answer. So there's no layoffs because the grants are ending?
No.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Chair Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Andrew, in regards to, you have the same challenges like other departments where, the revenue just can't sustain what the expense increase is, and sometimes it's out of your control, right? But, your transfers in here in this budget is a little over $6 million. I mean, we've gone from, in 2023, 1.5 million to 6 million now, so it's a big jump. Are all of the programs that you have listed here as far as by service, are all of these match programs, or are we doing anything in this list of services that are 100% general fund funded?
In terms of our special revenue fund?
Yes.
I don't believe any of them are 100% general fund.
Okay. Are we exceeding some of these in the sense of our match? Like, are we putting more money in some of these that you feel have more of a benefit to the community that we're using general fund?
I don't believe so, because most of these grants are really you know, if there is a match, it's typically covering mostly of services, you know. So you talk about like water testing. The grant is covering the supplies and the services for the water testing. You know, when we talk about, you know, the QPCR, and I've talked about this before about that, those grants are just offsetting that. It's not offsetting any of our personnel to do the work. So is it important? Yes, and I think we need to continue. Does that grant cover 100% of that program? No, it doesn't.
Okay,
So we use it to offset dollars.
okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Andrew, I think this might be one last question for me. The PFAS response, SOCCRA, what do you do with $400 for a PFAS response?
Not much of a response.
No, that's, I feel like it's missing zeros or something. I mean, what are you actually doing with that fund?
Sure, that was just a fund that came down. Sometimes we get these grants and it's not optional. They just come to us.
Okay.
And that was one of them. And that was intended to reimburse for any kind of PFAS testing sites. But it had to be contamination sites. So we just couldn't pick, you know, individual sites, but it's there to reimburse for any type of filters or filter providing that we needed to provide the household. We are fortunate that we've, knock on wood, have not had recently any PFAS sites. And so luckily that number is pretty low in terms of grant dollars.
So that number being low is actually a good thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew. We're all set. Next up is going to be Macomb Community Action with Ed Scott. Right? Andrew's not going to do this one.
Ed, you want me?
He's doing so well.
Ed, come on up. Commissioners, it's going to be pages D 17, 18, 19, and 20. Ed, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. That's a really tough act to follow, but I will do my best. So in front of you, you have our special revenue fund summary. Just for context, Macomb Community Action provides services to people who are low income or who are facing poverty in order to help promote independence and get them out of those tough situations. Throughout the course of this year, we made a concerted effort, particularly around personnel. If we had any turnover, to really look at the classification of the person who'd left, the tasks they were completing, and to see if there were ways to reassign those or look at different classifications that might cost us less. And so in some of those cases, we were successful. And in some of those cases, we were able to condense part-time positions in, several part-time positions into one full-time position, really in an effort to kind of streamline and get lean and become more efficient. So as we approach this year's budget, the goal was really to try and keep just about all of our operating expenses at or below what they had been previously. I think largely we were successful. The main driver of the increase in our general fund ask this year is indirect costs. So I'll answer all of your questions to the best of my ability. If I can't, perhaps one of my finance friends can come join me, or I'll get the information and I'll send it to you.
Ed, thank you. Commissioner Howard.
Just to echo what I said earlier, we've sent several people to Macomb Community Action, and they've gotten help immediately. Even when I had an issue with a resident reached out to me that lived in a different county, and I called Macomb Community Action, and you guys told me how to get them the help with their respective county department. And so I greatly appreciate it, because I think I texted you out of the blue and said, I need help right now. And thanks to you and your help, that person is still in their home right now, when they almost lost their house. I just have one quick question. Looking at the capital outlay, it's $176,700. What is that for?
So there's a couple things going on. We have two grant funding sources that we are looking at using a portion of to purchase vehicles. One of those would be for our weatherization program. It would be a new truck. A couple of the vehicles that we have are over 10 years old, and so we're looking to replace one. One of those, that piece of that grant's budget has actually already been approved by the state of Michigan. And then the second would be a refrigerated box truck for our food bank, the Community Food Bank of Macomb County. We are looking at, we have a grant from the Balmer Foundation that we are in the process of renewing and using some dollars from that grant to make that purchase. If for some reason, we don't get that renewal or something like that, then obviously I'll be back before you for a reduction. But that's what's driving that.
Thank you. That's it for right now, Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Chair Sabatini.
Hey, Ed. You actually kind of led me into my question in regards to the transfers for the general fund. So you're looking at about a $2.3 million increase from general fund. You said it's related to grants. So have grants ended? What's going on with the huge increase there?
No, I said that it's actually connected to an increase in our indirect costs.
Okay.
We have, much like Andrew mentioned, there have been some grants that have come to an end or that are not carrying over for us. One that stands out is United Way has had a what's called the Basic Needs Anchor Grant, I believe. I hope I'm getting that right. That's given us about $100,000 every year for several years, and they have restructured their grant process, and so this year we're only going to be receiving about $50 for them. Those dollars typically went towards the purchase of food for distribution to local pantries and such. I'm trying to think, there was one other example that I had that I could point out with you. I'm not seeing it here now. Yeah, I apologize. I'm drawing a blank here, but there's been one or two examples like that, not to the tune of 2 million, but there's been a couple of examples like that. But primarily the increase is driven through our indirect costs and also the 3%.
Okay,
for this year.
so what you're saying then is, because your revenue went down by almost, well, a little over 3 million, whatever that number is.
If I may, I also want to mention, as we're preparing our budget, our funders, the majority of whom are federal grant funds that funnel through the state, they give us a placeholder number to use as we're building our budget. And then that's the reason why I'm in front of you so many times throughout the year for budget amendments, because oftentimes those numbers go up, sometimes they go down, but oftentimes they go up. So some of these numbers are based on placeholder amounts rather than what we will actually see over the course of the year.
Okay, so your intergovernmental went down, that revenue number went down. So that's where primarily your grant revenue is at, in that line item? I see nods behind you, yes, so that would make sense.
Come on up.
I'll tag in. Tanya Newman, Fiscal Services Manager, that helps support Macomb Community Action. So a portion of the intergovernmental funds went down because Health and Community Services now has their own special revenue fund.
Okay.
It used to be held in Macomb Community Action.
Okay,
So some of that transitioned to their new fund.
okay. So how did the charges for services increase so much?
So the charges for services increased because we are now considered a service revenue for any activity we're connected with Health and Community Services. Health and Community Services will hold the federal revenue. They will show an expense over to us, and then we'll record it as service revenue because we both cannot account for it as federal funds.
Okay,
Also an increase in kind for the food program, about $500,000, and an increase in Balmer funding, about $174,000.
so you said the food program was $500,000?
In kind. In kind
Okay.
is a donation that they get from the Food Bank of USDA.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Chair. I don't see any other speakers. Oh, every time I do that. Commissioner Van Sickle, sorry, Ed.
It's okay.
Thank you,
You're
Chair.
almost free.
So about 3.5 million in grants ended is what
Am I understanding that correct?
I'm gonna ask my finance friend to come back and speak to us.
So we lost EFSP, which provided food for the food program. We lost funding for our transportation program that was federally funded that ended this year, as well as the home ARP federal funding. It was budgeted for less. It was budgeted for $6 million last year, and I think this year we budgeted 1 million.
Yes. Which will extend.
Yeah, which will extend through 2030. So that program is supposed to run through 2030.
So the grants ended and the programs that the grants were funding didn't get corresponding down budgeting.
No, generally speaking, the grants that ended provided funding to programs that operated on a mixture of different funding. So it wasn't necessary for the program to end because those particular grants ended. We may operate at a slightly reduced capacity because there's less funding, but we're still able to continue providing those services.
I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing.
I'm sorry. We may operate at a slightly diminished capacity because some of those funding sources came to an end, but we are still able to provide the services because there's other funding that we are able to use.
Well, can you tell me in the 25, but in this year's budget where that 3.5 million is distributed?
I'd have to go through
Yeah, I think
that.
that's one we can get back to you, certainly.
I'd like to know, I'd like to know where the 3.5 million grants that you lost, that ended, was spent this year. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. All right, now I think that's really it, Ed.
Thank you very much. I do just want to say, I want to echo the sentiment that Andrew shared. Thank you for the compliments. Everything that we're able to do is because of our incredibly dedicated and talented, just amazing staff who are here to help the residents of Macomb County. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks,
Thank
Ed.
you.
Next up is going to be the MSU Extension. I believe Christie's presenting. And we'll do the same thing. We'll start with the
Three of them.
C46 page, and then we'll move on to the special revenue page.
Hello. So just real quickly, I wanted to run through, because there's been a question that's come up from quite a few commissioners in the past, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. Real quick, our mission, which you guys know, is to improve people's lives through education and help with critical issues and needs. But about Extension's history, real quick, it was Abraham Lincoln put Extension into play through land-grant universities. MSU was one of the first ones, and from there, federal funding, state funding, and then county funding has kind of been the trend. So how funding comes through Extension is we call it the three-legged stool. So we have federal funds that come through the USDA, specifically the NIFA grant, but then we also have state investment, which thankfully a few weeks ago that was through and went well for us, and then local county investment. And the biggest thing just to portray is we say when one of these legs goes, Extension goes as well. So it's kind of one of those things where we need all three stools. If you pull out one part of that stool, the whole thing kind of collapses. And so this is how Extension is built across the entire nation. In every state, there is a land grant. And so this is just a little bit more about how we're funded and how we rely on you guys to be able to do the work that we do, and taking everything, all the education and research that's done on campus, and carry it into our communities here in Macomb. I'm gonna run through this real quick just because we all, can get out of here. But so we serve the community. We come to you, we serve you. The main thing that we do is you tell us what you need. community tells us what they need. We're not gonna come in and tell you how to run your community or what needs for you. We like to come in and be like, what gaps do you have that we can fill? And we do everything we possibly can to fill those. A few quick highlights. I know we talked about volunteers earlier. In 2024, we increased our volunteers by about 60. So we're at about 360 active volunteers throughout the county. And that equates to almost $900,000 of value back that's put back into our communities in Macomb. And we also had about 350 financial education clients through our work in that realm. Two quick things about our Master Gardener program, which is one of our largest programs here. We have about 150 Master Gardener volunteers, and that number keeps increasing every year. And we held a plant dividing class, which had a huge turnout. And then also in Mount Clemens, we did a rain garden, and it's actually been used as a training spot for a lot of other communities to come and learn how to do rain gardens and become more efficient. We had our summer discovery cruises this year, which were phenomenal. It continues to increase. And this slide and the next slide, it talks about how we're teaching our residents to continue to put their effort and energy back into the environment that we're in. And so, as you can see, 70% of the people who went on the cruise said they would take action to help Lake St. Clair and the Great Lakes. As well as our conservation program. One of the coolest things someone said about this, and after people complete this long course, they then go back into the community and they continue on with more projects. And so this one was people of Southeast Michigan shouldn't have to go up north and experience the outdoors. It's right here in our backyard. And so there's just a photo, which is gorgeous. But these all take place throughout Macomb County. And this other, real quick, this is our health educator. And she did a class around the caregiving journey. If you've ever been a caregiver, you know how tough that can be. But one of the quotes from a participant was, "I was so angry with my sibling for not understanding my point of view and our shared responsibilities for taking care of our parents. Now I understand from the class that birth order affects how you see the world and think." And this person was able to have a great conversation with their sibling and reestablish that relationship that they kind of broke away from each other. Two other programs that have been kicked off is we actually sent one of our 4-H participants went to Japan for study abroad. She's a high schooler for, I believe it was 8 months, but it was a whole year for school in Japan. And we were able to do that through the 4-H program. As well as our new program with Hatch to Chick, where we take chicks into the schools and the kids all get to learn about that. And so I know Andrew touched base on it a little bit, but we did lose, we actually lost 4 that jumped up to the SNAP Ed cuts that was in the Big Beautiful Bill. And I just wanted to highlight some of their programming real quickly to show you that they did a lot of work in our Macomb counties, and the grant is focused on lower income communities, so they are only allowed to work with lower income participants. And we worked with over 40 partners, and we're doing everything we can right now to offer other extension services or other resources to those partners so that they can continue the work that we had to stop. And so just an example of Lakeside Tower participant who was able to increase their mobility through those classes. So it's gonna take a hit, but as Extension, we're coming up with a plan to try and hopefully get more funding to get some more staff back quickly. Yeah, and so just the last thing about SNAP Ed is we coached about 42 different changes over the last year, and you can see some of those there, which include, here's Guyana's House, which is located in the southern end, and it's for moms. It's a shelter for moms and their littles. And we were able to help them build a garden, get funding for a garden, learn how to garden, learn how to eat that food out of that garden. So So we're gonna try and continue a lot of that work through our master gardeners. But yeah, I just want to take a moment to reflect on that. And yeah, and so that's what I got from there, but now I'll let you guys dive into the budget part or questions.
Thank you very much. Are there questions on page C46? Commissioner Goike?
Well, this statement, you know, because you just got done saying everything, is there any more interest in FFA? Because the extension also handles FFA. You know, to my knowledge, I think in our county, L'Anse Creuse North was about the only school district that was involved with it. Has there been any push from your department to try and help any of the other schools start any of them?
There has not been. I know in some counties, we take a more active role in that, and if that's something that is of interest, we can talk about that and see what other counties are doing with MSU Extension to push FFA and help them get started.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if you take the leadership role
Yeah.
into that, so it's like,
Yeah.
I think it goes hand in hand with STEM. FFA is Future Farmers of America. It's another, it's like kind of like the JC's combined and everything.
Yeah.
You know, for leadership abilities for young adults.
Yeah, I'll have Rebecca, who's here with me, the 4-H. She deals with a lot of the 4-H agriculture and stuff, so she can jump into that and see what her colleagues are doing around the state and how we can assist with that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Howard?
Thank you for explaining what that was. I'm still shocked that we have like 400 farms in Macomb County. Just unbelievable. Just to clarify, you and even the previous speakers talked about losing grant dollars. Is it because we can't apply for those grants anymore, or the federal program is just completely eliminated?
Completely eliminated. So with this one, the SNAP Ed grant was completely eliminated in the Big Beautiful Bill. So there was about 7,000 people across the nation who lost their job. And in Michigan, we lost 94 from extension, and then about the other implementing agency lost about 50. And so I will just say I'm optimistic that they will understand that this program was phenomenal and is phenomenal, and hopefully we can get some more funding streams and some other revenue, whether it be federal or state down the line.
Thank you. I know one of the programs that you listed that was cut, my daughter participated in two of them at her school, and one of them was about food education and teaching kids to eat healthier. And because I spent so much time at their school, I was talking to some of the kids that really needed that education, and they still remember some of the things, some of the lessons. So just know that it had a positive impact on the lives of children. So thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, and we're continuing in the Centerline Public Schools. We have Liz here who from 4-H. She's going to be jumping in and continuing with some of that work, and as well as another grant that we're working on with a staff that will continue to try, and they won't be able to do as much, but still trying to get as much as we can in there.
Thank you. If I can volunteer, let me know. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. I don't see any more questions on this page. Is there anything you wanted to touch on the special revenue page?
No, unless you guys have anything for me.
Commissioners, any questions on that one? Okay, all set?
Cool.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah.
Before I call Sheila up, Vicky's gonna jump in real quick and answer one of my questions from earlier. Vicky, go ahead.
Thank you very much. You had the question from page C39 under the Health Department and the COVID-19 activities other. That is where we place the 3% wage increase. So that is not related to COVID activities. And that the other is just, it was easier when we're doing the breakdown by program just to put that 3% wage there. So that's what that represents. Nothing related to any COVID activities or any other programming.
Thanks, Vicky.
You're welcome.
Okay, now, Sheila, come on up. Commissioners, it's gonna be pages D24 and 25. Sheila, thanks for your patience. Go ahead when you're ready.
Sure,
Also, Commissioners, it's the page, the separate page. It's not gonna be in your budget book. There were some last minute updates These are the most up-to-date numbers we could possibly have.
Hot off the press.
Sheila, go.
Hot off the press.
Go ahead, Sheila.
So before we get started, I'd just like to acknowledge and thank the finance team for their collaboration. And it takes a village to put these budgets together. And I'd like to thank Tanya and Sandy from the finance team under their leadership of Vicky. I feel like that our budget process has improved significantly, and I want to show my appreciation, as well as to my program manager, Nicole, who has a great eye for numbers and truly a gift when it comes to budgeting and stretching our funding to serve as many seniors as possible. So with that, I would call your attention to our budget, which has been pretty stable since we became a standalone department a few years back. This year, our indirect costs have increased significantly. Primarily, it's doubled, so that's where you're going to see, the increase in our ask this year, along with the 3% in salary increases. So with that, I'm open to any questions.
Thank you, Sheila. Are there any questions from commissioners? I know we may be digesting some of the fresh numbers too, so if questions come up as we go along, we'll definitely be reaching out to Vicky and or you and the team. So I don't see any questions. Oh, hold on. Chair 17.
Hi.
Capital outlay for $20,000, what's that for?
So $6,000 of that is for a phone system. We get, yeah, 6,000, but the other 13 was for the, no, this is strictly, okay, so this is, I'm sorry,
Okay.
apologies. This is for our grant, our through the Department of Justice grant. We're going to be purchasing a record keeping system for our case managers who will be helping with that grant. So it's through Monami. It's the name of the system that we'll be using to track cases and monitor outcomes for the grant.
Okay. Just really quick, Vicki. So in the special revenues, all the capital outlay information is not in the capital plan, correct? We didn't incorporate any of that in there? They're separate?
Correct. If
Okay.
it was in their budget, we tried to keep it in their budget and not reflect it
Got it.
in that plan.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sheila.
Vicky, before you go anywhere, I have a question for you. With the updated sheet, the transfers into the general fund, or from the general fund, I'm sorry, is increased in the updated sheet by about $60,000, which would basically, I think, throw the whole budget out of not being balanced. Are there adjustments, changes that go with this?
Yes, we will make sure that any other pieces of the budget book get updated as well.
Perfect. Thank you. That's all the speakers I
Great.
have.
Okay.
Thank you, Sheila.
That was quick.
That
Thanks
was
so
quick.
much. All right.
Thank you. Sheila and team, Vicky and team, Andrew and team, everybody in their teams, thank you so much for all of you do and for sticking around and working through these budgets with us. We appreciate all that you do. Commissioners, we have a motion and support to receive and file the budget presentations. Please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Next is item 8, correspondence from MSU Extension, Macomb County Annual Report 2024. I'll take a motion to receive and file.
So moved.
Support.
Motion from Commissioner Romano, support from Commissioner Howard. Van Sickle is one of the two. We'll go with Commissioner Howard. Commissioners, please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Next is public participation. Anybody from the public wishing to speak, you have 3 minutes to speak about any item you'd like. Anybody from the public? Seeing none, we'll close public participation and move to commissioners' comments. Commissioner Wallace.
We are 1 month away from the parade. We're in countdown now, guys. So I hope you are all ready. It does seem like it may be a little cold, so be prepared. Can't wait to walk with you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you. As Commissioner Hall mentioned earlier, he and I went on the tour, or the visit anyway, site visit of the health department over here. And I was a little embarrassed that there was only 2 of us. I thought there should have been more interest in this whole topic. I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Commissioner. Seeing no other speakers.
Support.
Motion to adjourn from Commissioner Romano, support from Commissioner Wallace.
They're weak.
That was the weakest one we've had.
Wow.
This isn't even that bad. Please vote.
She's still thinking about the parade.
Yes, they owe you.
Thank